The family's reunion at the nest can last for minutes. A sparrow's nest, mother, father, a tiny newborn chick.
Now stop. The documentary is over.
But if you said this sentence, "Oh my dear cat, what was the need to eat the kitten now? If I had bought you the highest quality wet food, you wouldn't have touched the kitten," it means your brain's need to cry has reached its peak. So, are you a person who cries or one who swallows what's inside to appear strong? Today, we are talking about crying and not making others cry.
Crying is definitely not a weakness. It existed long before us.
Approximately 200,000 years ago, humans couldn't speak, but they could cry. Because crying meant, "I need help, I'm in danger, I'm alone." Our ancestors would respond by crying to these situations when lost during a hunt, separated from the herd, unable to hide an injury, or when losing a mate or offspring. Crying was actually a survival signal.
So why does the brain initiate crying? Crying is not just a feeling, it's a biological chain.
When these three systems are activated, it means the brain is preparing to cry. The amygdala perceives danger, the hypothalamus alerts the body, the pituitary gland releases hormones, and the key hormone is prolactin. This hormone relieves stress, slows down the nervous system, and puts the brain in danger has passed mode. In other words, crying is the brain resetting itself. For this reset process, the brain doesn't care about time, place, or people and tells you, "Sorry, I have to cry." That's why the phrase, "I suddenly felt like crying," is familiar to all of us. Our brain wasn't created to keep emotions inside, because held emotions lock the muscles, disrupt the heart rhythm, and reduce attention. Crying slows the heart, regulates breathing, and ends tension. Look, here is another key phrase. "I cried and I spoke," we say, and the reason for this is the effort to end tension. That's why after crying, a person feels tired but light. So, are the tears we shed while crying the same as the ones we shed while chopping onions? No, they are not. Emotional tears have a lot of stress hormones and a lower salt content. In reactive tears, there are very few stress hormones and a very high salt content. So, the salt in the tears we inevitably taste while crying is just right. The year is 1985. Dear Nilufer, with lyrics and music by herself. Come on, you complete the name of the song in this blank. The urge for men to cry is higher. But there is an evolutionary pressure. Making noise during hunting meant death. Showing weakness meant being ostracized. That's why the male brain learned to hold back the urge to cry. The female brain evolved to form social bonds and call for help in negative situations while living in caves. Now, let's talk about dear children. A baby's voice activates the empathy circuit in the brain, releases oxytocin, and forcibly draws attention. So, this is not manipulation. This is a survival software. But after infancy, for example, when a 4-year-old child looks into our eyes and seems to be crying, it affects us more because our brain perceives this look as helplessness. It sends the message, "Don't make the little one cry." Now, we come to the solution part. The solution to what? Not to not crying, but to not making your loved ones cry. The person cries not at what is said, but at what is felt. Before saying something to someone, ask this question. What emotion will be triggered in the mind of the person who hears my words? If the answer is worthlessness, loneliness, or threat, even if the words are true, refrain from saying them because the brain leads to crying in this way. Whether it's a mother, father, or spouse, be careful to be harmless rather than right. For this reason, crying is human, but not making someone cry is wisdom. And sometimes being silent is the greatest compassion.